On this edition of Southern Newsweek, we catch up with athletes racing around the Otago University Clocktower. The major refit of Dunedin's Winter Garden is coming along well. And we see what happens behind the scenes at Dunedin's Toitū Settlers Museum. Kia ora, I'm Sophie Morris. A Dunedin athletic club has wound back time and resurrected the Clocktower Race. The once annual race around the University of Otago Registry building has made a return thanks to the local Hill City University Club.
The registry clock at the University of Otago starts to chime midday, and a group of sprinters try to circle the building before the chimes are finished. Two runners managed to beat the bells today, with 19-year-old Cameron Miller, a member of the Hill City University Athletic Club, coming first in a comfortable time of 48.66 seconds. Miller says his mission was to get ahead of fellow runner Jake Paul, who has a better personal best than him.
I sort of just try to get in front of Jake at the first 100, because when you go around the bend, it's good to be in front because I'd get cut off otherwise. You're restricted.
Athletics Otago chairman Kevin O'Sullivan hopes more than one woman will enter next year, and he says the win going to an upcoming track champion was not unexpected.
We need to make sure in 2020 that we have a few more women running in this one, but certainly the guys, and Cameron Miller is an established athlete anyway, and it's probably not a big surprise that he's pulled this off. So, that was good news. Really.
Race organiser Jared Monk says the event is to give students a chance to do something a bit different.
Just trying to sort of bring something back, a bit more social culture, a bit more fun, sort of stuff for the university. Like I'm a huge runner, big advocate for getting out there and exploring and stuff like that. And this is just sort of something to bring students into that sort of environment again. Despite
the sharp corners, the course is comparable to more serious athletic events.
The distance is about 370 metres, and the chimes will run for is about 53.5 seconds. So it equivocates to about a 60-second 400. So it's pretty quick.
Monk hopes the race will once again become an official O-Week event. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Almost 30 years after its last touch-up, the Winter Garden glasshouse at the Dunedin Botanic Garden is midway through a total refurbishment. The Edwardian-styled glasshouse was built in 1908, and the council says it was in need of a complete makeover inside and out.
The glass is back in place and replanting underway as the extensive refit of Dunedin's Winter Garden progresses.
It was a great chance to clear everything out of the glasshouse and then just have a really good work over the structure itself. So all the glass was removed, all the putty taken out obviously, and that meant we could paint the whole framework where all the windows go in rather than just painting around. So it's been a massive project doing that.
Winter Garden Glasshouse curator Stephen Bishop says the nearly $400,000 project includes the temperature machines to keep the tropical plants comfortable.
Other things have been done as well. Environmental systems have been looked at and upgraded, paving, drainage, that type of thing as well too. So it's been a pretty busy place over the last few months.
It's also a great chance to rearrange the layout and spruce up where the plants are placed within the buildings.
So we're just replanting today. Obviously with the place has been cleared, no plants at all in here. And we're just putting it back in a different fashion to what it was before. So looking at different themes of the botanical themes, I guess is the easiest way of saying it. So we're going to have a focus on palms and cycads in the central bed behind me.
Bishop says the makeover is set to be completed mid-March, giving the workforce a tight time frame.
15th of March is opening day, and I've got a very tight time frame up till then. That's actually my last day of completing the work, so it's going to be touch and go whether we actually get it done on time.
He says contractors will be hard at work to make the deadline, and they're looking forward to opening up the Winter Garden to the public again. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Toitū Otago Settlers Museum staff are making good progress in catching up with a backlog of artefacts which have built up over the last 5 years. Acting Visiting Experience Manager Tim Cornelia says the backlog built up after the museum's redevelopment in 2012.
Yeah, we've had a bit of a backlog with some of our donations, the gifts that people have brought into the museum during the 2012 redevelopment project, which sort of left us with the wonderful museum we've got today. Some of those sort of behind the scenes processes got a little bit left behind. We had to shift the entire collection from one old space into our new collection store, and it's left us with a few what we're calling legacy issues, things that, as we sort of fired into running a new museum and getting all our new exhibitions up and running, some of those things have sort of fallen behind a little bit. So what we're really doing is deploying sort of some of our skilled staff into looking at those. We've divided up into a series of really doable projects that will make a real difference to behind the scenes sort of things. And that will then allow us to operate the front of house a lot better, because we'll know where everything is and what everything is, and all of our donors, the people who have made donations to the museum, will have all of their paperwork in order, and we'll know everything's in the right place. It gives me an opportunity to see a lot of the beautiful objects that are in the collection, and there's a huge amount of variety. One day we might be looking at old photographs or a photograph album, the next day it could be a vehicle or I've been stunned by the range of things that people have donated, and all with that an amazing link to a Dunedin story and to Dunedin people. So it's been really enjoyable. For 100 years now, people have been able to rock up with a bag in their under their arm, dump it on the front desk and say, here you go, we've been clearing out Nana's attic. So we can't really operate under those terms anymore. There's just so much stuff out there. So these days we encourage people who've got things that feed into the stories of Dunedin and Otago to give us a call first, make an appointment to come along to one of our monthly donation clinics, which the curators here run, and they'll do an appraisal of those objects. Another one of the legacy projects which we're addressing at the moment is completing the cataloguing process of our costume and textiles collection. There's some magnificent things in the museum collection there, beautiful frocks and gowns and things which we've featured in exhibitions before, and I know are a very popular part of our collection. Again, a lot of that stuff hasn't really been given the attention it deserves due to resources being deployed elsewhere during the redevelopment and things. And so now we're going through bit by bit and opening up some of those boxes and having a really good look and learning a lot more about what we have in the stores.
Organisers of a petition calling for the retention of the Millennium Tile Path along the lakefront at Wanaka are feeling a little more confident the path will be saved. Concerns were first raised last December about planned redevelopments of Wanaka's South Beach destroying the path.
If and how this pathway along the Wanaka lakeshore will be retained is set to be revealed at a Wanaka Community Board meeting in early April. 1,700 people have signed a petition calling for the path to be kept following redevelopments planned for the area. Petition organiser Liz Hall says the tiles were designed to be a long-lasting project.
At least 30 people volunteered to write the information on the tiles in black glaze, and then we got potters to refire those tiles, so the information was written down permanently.
She says many people and organisations from around Wanaka have contributed to the project.
We had over 200 people who bought a tile for $100 each. That was to fund the whole project.
The Community Board and the Queenstown Lakes District Council are now looking at how to retain the tile path, although it is likely to be relocated. A report on the redevelopment is set to be tabled at a Community Board meeting in early April. In Wanaka, for the South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. We meet a Dunedin recycling firm offering to recycle number 5 plastics, and we check in with the happenings at the Kaikoura A&P show. Welcome back. Dunedin now has a New Zealand first, a bin specially installed for the public to return number 5 polypropylene plastics for recycling. Local plastic manufacturer Packet Packaging are behind the initiative, aimed at reducing the amount of plastic waste going straight to landfill.
A new place to drop off some of your plastic waste. A recycling bin set up at Centre City New World in Dunedin for number 5 plastics. Currently, if you put plastic containers labelled number 5 in your recycling bin, they'll actually end up in landfill, as there aren't the facilities to recycle them down here. Number 5 plastic is often used in containers for dairy products and sauce bottles, and Kaikoura Valley plastic manufacturers Packet Packaging say there's a real demand from the public for the containers to be recycled.
We have some ice cream manufacturers and, well, all sorts really, yogurt, pasta sauces, everything we make. A lot of their customers are pushing for this, yes. They're ringing at them and saying, you know, we love your product, but what's happening to the actual container that it's in?
The solution is a special collection point for number 5 polypropylene plastics.
We will ensure that it is fully recycled. It goes to a ComSpec in Christchurch and it's a recycling plant, and it goes completely recycled into building materials, the likes.
For now, there's just one number 5 collection bin in Dunedin, and it's just a trial scheme.
At the moment we're funding this ourselves. We would like to think maybe down the track this will roll out nationally. If it's successful as a pilot, and we would like to think we can get some funding for it, yes.
And if the idea takes hold, it's hoped other collection bins will be installed around the city. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Native wildlife will have a greater chance of survival around Clyde thanks to a group of youngsters and their DIY skills. Children at Clyde Primary School recently built wooden predator traps as part of an EnviroSchool activity during Education Outside the Classroom Week.
Boxing on for predator control. Parents and teachers assisting children as they drill screws into planks of wood to create predator boxes at Clyde Primary School recently. EnviroSchool's facilitator Anna Robinson says it's a team effort.
This is part of a bigger community effort to make Clyde predator free. So we have 65 trapping boxes with modified rat traps going out into the Clyde community today as a result of the kids' awesome efforts here.
She says making the trapping boxes is part of a wider community effort to make Clyde predator free. The children have researched which predators may be in the area and have designed the traps to fit the purpose.
The predators that they are working on with these particular trapping boxes, they are looking at the rats, ferrets, stoats and weasels as well. So those traps work on those 4 species.
The group has made 65 trapping boxes with modified rat traps set to go out into the Clyde community. 8-year-old Sienna Banks among those enjoying helping native wildlife.
We went into groups and the first one I did making some predator traps.
And she knows exactly who the bad guys are.
Stoats and ferrets and rats and stuff like that.
The children have spent the last couple of years monitoring the area to determine the extent of the predator problem within Clyde. Their research found bellbirds, fantails and tui are among the birds around the school's playground, along with skinks and geckos. In Clyde, the South Today.
Members of the Waitati community have been advised to ignore rumours about who may have killed Starr, the miniature horse who was stabbed over 40 times by an assailant who remains at large. The call came from Starr's owner, Mandy Mayhem Bullock, during a candlelit vigil last Sunday at the field where Starr lived. Around 120 people attended the ceremony, where flowers were laid, incense was burned and songs were sung. The Waitati militia then led a parade down the street to where Starr was found. A CIB crime squad based in Dunedin has been dedicated to the case, which has horrified the country. 70 national and international veteran shearers converged on the town of Hinds in mid-Canterbury to shear 3,000 sheep last weekend. The event was held to raise money for the Ashburton Cancer Support Group, as well as the National Breast and Prostate Cancer organisations.
They came, they saw, they conquered. The Share for Life event held in Hinds over the weekend, raising tens of thousands of dollars towards the fight against prostate and breast cancer. The event included current and former world champions, stars of the She Shears movie and All Black greats. The idea was hatched almost a year ago by 3 shearing mates.
The idea was first born out of a couple of shearers that were sitting in a pub one afternoon having a couple of beers and thought they'd get together and raise some funds for cancer. And it grew from there into the event that it is today.
Hosted at the Ewing family farm, the event saw crowd numbers keep on growing during the day.
We've had people here from 7 this morning and it's just getting busier. So thank you for everyone that's coming along and supporting us.
A shearing shed featured 8 stands manned by professional shearers, plus a 9th stand for blade shearers and those aged over 50. Video screens and a marquee tent allowed everyone to keep track with the event, with the aim of shearing 3,000 sheep over the course of the day. The enthusiasm of the shearers making the goal an easy one.
We're way ahead of schedule. I think we shore 500 in the first hour, so we may have to slow things up a bit.
Sponsorship from both individuals and businesses across mid-Canterbury helped guarantee the day raised a large sum towards the battle against cancer.
We feel really privileged to be part of this event, and we are blown away by the local support and how this committee has done so much to raise funds for our charities.
Organisers say Share for Life raised more than $85,000 in mid-Canterbury, the South today.
Organisers of the Kaikoura A&P show say it's as strong as it's ever been, despite battling a raft of recent challenges. After an earthquake, a cyclone and a struggle to recruit new committee members, the show continues to defy the odds.
The Kaikoura A&P show demonstrating its resilience. Locals turning out in droves over the weekend to celebrate the 106th running of the event. President Matt Anderson says it's as strong as it's ever been.
It's been tough. We obviously missed 1 year after the earthquake, but then last year we managed to pull it together even after Cyclone Gita and run a pretty good show last year as well. And now with everyone from Marlborough being able to come down again now, we're back to normal, so it's great.
Among the attractions was a farrier showing the finer art of hoof care or how to give a horse a pedicure. Organisers pleased with the huge turnout of people from both Canterbury and Marlborough.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see so many locals getting involved in the community, especially with agricultural point of view as well, with the teen ag and the young farmers as well. It's awesome that's keeping on going. It's one of the oldest young farmers groups in New Zealand apparently.
In one of the tents, a master butcher displays the finer art of boning out a beef leg. Kaikoura Mayor Winston Gray was among those taking part in a display of bicycle-powered shearing. He says the show is a big day for the town after some difficult years.
It's been keeping the show going. It's been quite a challenge. Small team of workers that make it happen every year. So really is a big challenge. This is a really good turnout today. Really good.
3 years ago, organisers wondered if the next show would be their last, as they struggled to recruit new committee members. Then the 2016 earthquake struck, followed by Cyclone Gita last year. Gray says a lot's been achieved in the years since the quake, but there's still more to do.
Yeah, we've got our bridges and things to build. The roads, road work's still going on. They're going to be here for another year on the highway, getting that finished. Yep. So, but the council roads, we've got stuff to do. We've got bridges to build, roads to fix, still sewers to get in. But everything's functioning well now, so we're pretty much through it.
Winston Gray is no stranger to the Kaikoura A&P show, having served for 25 years on the show committee. Both he and Anderson delighted with the large turnout. In Kaikoura, the South today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek. We meet a group of Mackenzie Bay pupils who are reinventing the old school selfie. And we see a Chinese and New Zealand interpretive dance troupe who performed in Dunedin recently. Welcome back. Pupils at Dunedin's Mackenzie Bay School have been using modern technology to reinvent an old school selfie. A Dunedin artist spent the week with the school guiding pupils and staff in how to take a selfie and make it a self-portrait, and not to take one's image too seriously.
An old school selfie. The work of Mackenzie Bay School pupils and staff from a recent art session, where Dunedin artist Sarah Flourish shared her considerable experience in taking raw selfies and creating art from the pictures.
And a couple of years ago I saw Sarah's marvellous exhibition called Covering My Bases, and just knew this would be a great project if we could get her to come in and work with our kids, and she's just done an amazing job.
Newlands says in previous years the children's art has been displayed at the school, but this year she's pleased the exhibition is at Bellamy's Gallery.
And the fact that the children have been able to have their work displayed in Bellamy's Gallery is just again, taking it to that next level.
Artist and Bellamy's staffer Manu Berry helped the pupils hang the work and says they knew exactly where they wanted pictures to go, so it wasn't a problem.
It actually went up pretty quickly. The kids did all the placement. There were 3 or 4 of them helping, so they were just placing and I was just nailing. So they chose all the places and it came together in maybe an hour and a half.
He says it's unusual to have an exhibition of mostly children's art and is pleased with the vibrant nature of the work. 3 of the young artists were on hand at the gallery to discuss their work and all say they loved the experience, learning a lot about painting and themselves in the process.
I kind of tried to make it as natural as possible. I kind of got inspired by my friend Zoe's, whose painting is this one. I really enjoyed the experience and I really want to do it again. Well, I did have a frog face, but it turned out not that well. But I was also thinking about like Lake Middleton, and there's lots of trees and there's a big lake. I just drew over my face with carbon paper, and I figured it looked a lot like an 80s pop star, and I just went with that flow and added a mic and made a blue necklace and added a spider that sort of looks like a splodge. And also because we had filters, I had little birds flying around my head, which have turned out to look a lot like flying hamsters that are blue.
The exhibition is on display at Bellamy's Gallery for a week or so. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Dunedin's Regent Theatre featured a one-off contemporary dance show on Tuesday, featuring artists from both New Zealand and China. The Footnote New Zealand Dance and Guangdong Modern Dance Company were putting on a choreographed performance called Hemispheres. Thanks to sponsorship from Asian cultural organisations, the entry fee was koha or a small donation.
Interpreting the Dunedin Public Art Gallery's new Networks exhibition of contemporary Chinese art. Dancers from both New Zealand and China giving a sneak peek of the show they'll be putting on tonight at the Regent Theatre. Footnote Artistic Liaison Officer Anita Hunsaker says their show is a result of her dance company's visit to China in 2018.
We've got 11 amazing dancers from Guangdong Modern Dance Company. We collaborated with them last year to create a show, and we toured China last year with them, and now they're here touring with us.
Guangdong is China's first modern dance company, and she says their dancers have proved to be skilled at both improvisation and choreography.
They're all trained contemporary dancers, and improvisation is a tool of training as a contemporary dancer. We are going to be responding to the artwork and to the space and to each other and improvising.
And she says the style of their dance is designed to let the audience decide what message to take from it.
I think dance is cool because it's a universal language. You don't actually need to talk to communicate. You can express yourself through just the simplest of movement, and everyone understands what they're doing. And contemporary dance is even more special because it's open to interpretation. You can interpret it however you like.
Footnote and Guangdong are set to perform at the Regent Theatre from 6:30 tonight. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
Close on 150 young athletes from around mid-Canterbury competed at the district's annual Primary School Sports Association Triathlon. Now in its 10th year, the recently held triathlon is aimed at primary school age pupils to give them a taste of multi-sport.
Taking part in a genuine triathlon with swimming, running and cycling leagues. These youngsters competing in the Mid-Canterbury Primary School Sports Association Triathlon, hosted by Hampstead School.
Today we've got 145 children competing from schools across the Mid-Canterbury district in years 5 through to 8.
Corcoran says the host school in Ashburton is an ideal place for the children to get a taste of multi-sport events.
The purpose of this event is so that the children in our district can experience triathlon in a safe environment. We hold it here at Hampstead School because we are lucky to have the pool so close to our cycle course as well as our run course.
Featuring a 50-metre swim, 3-kilometre bike ride and finishing with a 1.5-kilometre run, Corcoran says the triathlon isn't designed to be ultra-competitive.
It's really about getting out and having a go and having a try at triathlon.
Despite the easygoing nature of the event, previous competitors have included Matt Clue and Bria Roderick, who have gone on to represent New Zealand in a world triathlon stage. In Ashburton, for the South Today.
A scrappy yellow-eyed penguin has tussled with sharks 3 times in the past few years and has lived to squawk the tail. Veterinarians at the Dunedin Wildlife Hospital recently operated on the feisty hoi-ho known as Crystal for the 3rd time in 3 years.
Back for more surgery in a familiar place. This yellow-eyed penguin named Crystal has returned to Dunedin's Wildlife Hospital after surviving a shark attack for the 3rd time.
She came through as a juvenile, which means she was 1 year old in 2017, and she had taken on a shark, so we patched her up, fixed her and sent her back to the wild via Penguin Place.
But a year later, the same penguin was brought in again after being found with a more severe shark bite.
We got Crystal through again, so we're like, oh, hey, seeing our old friend again. And this time she had a really big wound, which took quite a few surgeries to repair. She sort of tackled the shark again, but survived, and we patched her up, multiple surgeries that time, and yet again, by Penguin Place, we released her and, had a bit of a yarn with her about trying to avoid sharks and not be so sassy. And then, last week we were told, oh, Crystal, which is quite amusing.
She says the positive thing about a penguin returning to the hospital is it proves many of the repaired animals go on to survive in the wild.
For us, it's just really good to know that this bird has survived, which means that many other birds that we're fixing are surviving out there.
The hospital is busy at the moment looking after other injured animals, as well as hand-rearing 25 kakapo chicks.
Just really privileged to be able to provide veterinary support for such amazing animals, and we've got a hospital full of some amazing animals at the moment, which is awesome, which is why we do this work.
As for Crystal, she's likely to be spending up to a month in rehab. In Dunedin, for the South Today.
That's all for Southern Newsweek. For the latest news from the Southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Sophie Morris. Thanks for joining us.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.